Okay, welcome back to SIP-COMSYS. Okay, continuation of the DHCP. Okay, this time around we are going to see how we can configure DHCP and then we can power up a client to receive an IP from the DHCP server. Right? Let's get digging. Okay, so let me quickly launch my server so you can see my server. That's my domain controller is up running. So this is the member server which I joined to I did in the previous video. Right, this is the member server. Right, you can see my DHCP is already open. So if you don't know how to open that, you can go to start, administrative tools, you see DHCP, or you go to the server manager and then you will see tool at the right corner, then you can click on tools, then you see DHCP. So click down this, you can see here I have no configurations done within my DHCP, so I need to create what you call a scope. Right, so I right click and then on the IPv4. Okay, you can see I have IPv6 and then IPv4. For now I'm only dealing with what IPv4, so I right click this and then going forward new scope. So I need to name it. You can see you have what new scope wizard. Next, so I need to give it a name, the name of my scope. So I can name this SIP-COMSYS DHCP. So I can give it a description there if I want, or I can leave it like that. And so I'm going for next. So I need to give my starting IP and my ending IP. Okay, I'm using a class 4 address, so I'm going for this. Okay, 192.168.4.1. so when I click on tab, you can see by default the subnet marks appear because I'm using a class 4. So if you are using a subnetted address, right, so you have to come here and then do your changes. Okay, based on your prefix length or the subnet mask that you have calculated for, you can do your changes here. Right, so let me put here 192.168.4 and my ending IP is 254. Right, this is the total IP I'll have if I'm using this class 4. So I'll leave this as default because I'm using a class 4. If it's a classless or a subnetted address, then I have to change my subnet mask. So I'm going for next. Now exclusion and no delay. Okay, I don't want any delay, so I'm not going to add that, but I'm going to add what exclusion. So I want to exclude certain IPs. Right, so I can go in for this 4.245 to 192.168.4. oh sorry, okay, .4. to 53. So you can see I've given what a range, my starting range that I want to exclude to this. So when I add it, to add, so let's say if I want to exclude just a single IP, so I can put the 192.168.4.254. right, so I'll just type it at the starting end and then go forward add. So you can actually exclude a range or add a single address in there. So the delay, I don't want any delay, so I'm going for next. Now list duration. Okay, that means the duration I want the DHCP to give out the IP address to the client. that means to have a time to expire. Okay, so the default is 8 days. So after 8 days, if that machine is not on the network, then the DHCP is going to say take back the IP. It's just like when you rent a house, and then if your time is due, it's either your landlord will ask you if you want to what, renew, or you want to what, move out of the building. So if you want to renew, you just pay up, and what, you still maintain the room. If you don't want it, then what, you move out. So typical example to what, the DHCP. Okay, give our IP address, you have a time to expire. So when the time expires, it asks the machine if it wants to maintain the same IP. If that machine is not on the network at that particular time, it assumes that machine don't want the IP, so to just what, take back the IP and add it back to what, its database. If another machine comes, that IP could be used for that particular machine. Okay, so I'll set it to 2 days. Okay, so if you want it hours, you can do that. If you want it in minutes, you can set that as well. So I want it in days, so it's 2 days. All right, so here, configure DHCP options. Okay, it's very important, right? So I can go for yes and then configure that, and then later as well I can what, do these options. Okay, so let me just go for yes, and then let's see. All right, now you can see default gateway. So if I have a router on my network, which I know my client and my servers or my devices will be moving outside my network, I need to provide that IP, so that when the DHCP is giving an IP, or to add that IP to the package that the client will be receiving. So let me just put here some IP, even though I don't have a router. Okay, for if you remember, this IP, I actually excluded it. Okay, things like routers IP have to be excluded from the what, list. So add. If I have more, I can add. I only have one, so let me go in for next. So you can have DNS. Yes, this is my DNS. This is the IP is already showing, so I don't need to add. But if I have another one, I can add that particular server and then even resolve it for me, or add the IP address here and then for it to work. So I'm going for next. So if I have a Wins server, Wins is the archaic or the older form of the DNS, right? In today's world, I don't know who will be using Wins anyway, but you never know. So I don't have one, so I'm going forward next. So do you want to activate the scope? Yes, I want to activate the scope. If you go for no, that means your scope is not going to work for you. So I'll go in for next, finish. Okay, so when I refresh, so you can see now my scope is being what, created, right? Okay, so you can see here when I click on options, you can see I have the router, the DNS, and the what, whichever domain and path. But if I want to add more, I can right click the option, then go to configure options. So you can see here in the list, I can select whatever services I want to add to the list for the clients to take note of. Okay, so let's say if I have a time server, I can click on time and then add that time server here. So I can say 192.168 maybe 25, let's say 3. So let me add that. So I'm going for apply and then okay. So this will add up to the package that will be given to what, the client, right? So this is how you can configure your DHCP. Okay, the next thing is for me to on my client machine here and then use it to test my DHCP. So let me power this up. Okay, so as you can see, my client machine is loading for me to use. Okay, so you can see this is my client machine here, and I'm going to use this to actually check for my DHCP connection. All right, so let me check my connection, my network. So right click, going for open network and internet settings. Okay, click on Ethernet and then change adapter settings, and then I can right click this and then going for properties. So here I'm using only IPv4, so I want to check the IPv6 going for IPv4. So you can see obtain IP address automatically. Okay, this. So let's check why our DHCP is not working. So let's go into. Okay, so I can go into the command line by putting here cmd, enter. So you can see this is my command line here. So you have to type IP config. Okay, so you can see it's not receiving the IP address from my DHCP. Let me see, 192.168.33, because this is not my DHCP IP. Let me do slash or. Alright, so slash or is telling me, you can see DHCP server 192.168.33.254. So this is not my DHCP server. So where is it getting this IP from? Now there's something you have to note. When you install your VM workstation, right, even though I have it in my previous video, some people might even forget and then continue with it and then come to this point. Now when you install your VM workstation and you want to configure your own DHCP like I've just did, okay, what you do here is you go to I think view, no, edit. Okay, when you go to edit, you have what, virtual network editor. So you click there. So I'm actually going to do that right now. It's not popping up. Okay, so I'll show you how to create all these switches. So I'm using host only for my configuration. Right now, if you check here, we have what, DHCP Enable. So if you check, the subnet is on 192.168.33.0. that's the subnet. So that is the IP address that I've been given. So I'll go in for change settings. Yes, okay, let me pop. Good. So now I'll click on host only one because this is my what I'm using. So I want check this, use local service. I want check that because I don't want it to use local, it should use my. So apply and then okay. All right, so let's cross check again once more. Oh, okay, let me cross check again. So you can see it's still using the IP address. So what you do here is IP config slash release. You should release the old one. Oh, sorry, I think my release was spelled wrongly. I didn't bring my ER. All right, so the next thing you will do is IP config renew. Okay, so let's see if okay. So you can see now it's able to contact my DHCP on SIP-COMSYS.com, right? So do you trust this? This is just asking you if you trust the network. So I'm going for yes. So you can see now I have a new IP, that's SIP-COMSYS.com 192.168.4.1. okay, you can see the default gateway I provided, even though I don't have a router, it has been added. Okay, let me just type IP config/o. okay, I want to see all the information, right? So you can see here I have the IP, my subnet mask. So you can see I have my list duration, right? Today, Saturday 10th, this is the time and the date and the day I was given the IP, and then my list expire. You can see on Monday the day, the date, and then the time is going to expire if this machine is not on the network. Okay, so default gateway you can see is part of the package. DNS server, sorry, DHCP server, you can see there. DNS server, you can see what I added is part of the package, so it's in there. So right now this machine has a full package of the IP. Now I can even join this machine to the domain. Okay, let's try that. So click on start, settings, you go to account. Okay, then you go to access, work or school. So you go for connect. Now this thing Microsoft need to work on it, because this is more like if I'm connected to the internet, so it's trying to scan the internet and then scan my local network. Because you can see here email address. Meanwhile this machine here don't have any internet, so this shouldn't even pop up in the first place. So I'm going for join local Active Directory. So now I need to provide my domain name, so SIP-COMSYS, right? So next. So you can see here I need to provide my domain credential. Okay, that's admin1, and my password is admin@1. okay, it's my password. Okay, yours might be different from mine, so just take notes. So while this is working, let's check on our our DHCP server, right? Let's go to the list. Oh, okay, let me refresh. Good. So when I refresh, look at address list. So you can see the machine it has been given to. Okay, type DHCP, you can see the machine's MAC address is here. Okay, every information of the machine which the IP has been given to. So let me check. So you can see here is actually joined. It's asking me if I want to add another account to this. No, I don't want that. Skip. So restart now. So as you can see, this machine is joined to the domain. So if I should go to my domain controller here, okay, all right, so let me click on my Active Directory. So we go to tools, Active Directory, users and computers. So you can see here I have my PC02, right, and then I have my domain. So these machines have been joined to the domain. So here you can see I have my PC restart, right? So if I want to log in to the domain, I need to go in for another user. So then I need to provide my domain credential. So this is how to install your DHCP server and configure. Okay, thank you for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel. Okay, I'll be dropping series on the server 2022, right? Like the video, share the video. Thank you so much. See you guys.